So it's the end of 2015, and recording in your room is easier than ever. You don't need a mixing board, a lot of studio space, you don't need racks and racks of audio units, or the skill to even use all of these things. Today you need an instrument or a microphone, a computer, and an audio interface in between these two things. Get some cables to connect all of these and a decent pair of studio monitors or headphones, and you've got yourself a solid recording setup. The most important part of that setup being the audio interface, because it's the bridge between your musical talent and the technical recording computation. It's seriously that easy. You take whatever you've got, whether it's an XLR output or a 1/4-inch output, and you plug it into this box. That box will run into your computer, and in your computer you'll have some sort of software to receive that signal, and you've got yourself a decent recording setup. Being in the market for an audio interface recently, my needs for one weren't too demanding. I wasn't asking for very much. I didn't need to plug in very many mics at the same time. I didn't need a MIDI out or a MIDI in, as I was not going to use it for any live recordings or anything like that. I just needed an audio interface that would allow me to plug in my instrument or microphone and record, or allow me to plug in at the same time as my guitarist and record two instruments at the same time on two separate channels to either jam or record simultaneously. After a lot of research and, more importantly, experience with a lot of audio interfaces, the Scarlett interfaces from Focusrite were perfect for me because the features and price were right up my alley for my very small home recording projects. I'm usually creating music with one other musician, usually a guitarist, while I play bass, and we program the drums using Steven Slate. With the 2i2, we're able to plug in at the same time and record on two separate channels, and this is very important because a lot of audio interfaces in this exact price range don't allow for that. Now for me, being able to plug in at the same time with another musician was very important because that is how we write music. That's one of the best ways that we've been able to actually track songs, and a lot of times when we want to record something complex, we'll record live at the same time. Another major reason that I would need to record into two inputs at the same time is for stereo applications. For example, if I have two microphones with XLR outputs, I can record them onto two separate channels on the Focusrite 2i2, and I can use it for things like tracking in movies, I can use it for sound editing, I can use it for ADR, which I had to do in a project recently this past summer. So something like the 2i2 from Focusrite is fantastic when it comes to recording two people at the same time or two microphones at the same time. Now, I used both the Scarlett Solo and the Scarlett 2i2, but my main audio interface was the 2i2, so I'm going to be referring to that interface mostly. The major differences between the two of those interfaces is that the Solo is $50 cheaper. It does not allow for multiple instruments at the same time, as it only has one built-in preamp, but it is perfect for a very small home studio and for 99.9% of recording applications. When you have a guitar or bass, it will handle it perfectly, and if you've got a microphone with an XLR, it will also handle that perfectly. Both the Solo and the 2i2 come with the software that Focusrite provides with the audio interfaces. The only reason that I would choose the 2i2 over the Solo is that I need to record multiple instruments at the same time. If I didn't need that, the Solo would be more than perfect for me. In fact, my guitarist uses the Solo, and that is his main audio interface. So on the far left, you have the first input channel. We've got a combination XLR and 1/4-inch input, as well as a gain knob and a LED ring around that, which will vary from green to red depending on how hot your signal is. And then you've got a switch on the bottom, which will switch from, it's essentially just going to be another gain circuit. It's going to be your line signal. So if you've got an XLR with, like, let's say an SM58, which is going to be a line level microphone, that will go through here on line, but if you've got like a guitar or an instrument, you just flip it over there and then it gives you a gain for an instrument signal. Same thing on the second input channel. This is the 2i2, so there are two channels like that. There are two built-in preamps. On the Solo, there's only one, so there is an XLR on one side and a 1/4-inch on the other. On this one, you have a combination XLR and 1/4-inch, which gives you the the option to put in either 2 XLRs, 2 1/4 inches, or a 1/4 inch and an XLR at the same time. Right after that, we've got the 48 volt phantom power for your condenser microphones, which will need that. Direct monitor, just in case you want to hear yourself on whatever this thing is outputting on, and then a giant knob next to that to give you the levels of that monitor. And then you've got your headphone jack and how much volume your headphone is outputting. On the back, starting from the left, we've got something which I think is really cool, is a Kensington Lock. If you know about Kensington locks, they're just a port that you would usually have like on a laptop or something, where you can put in Kensington improved devices, which will essentially just lock your interface physically into place so that no one can steal it. You've got your USB output, which is just your standard USB Type B, USB doghouse as I like to call it, and then the line outputs. The line outputs are what you're going to be outsending to your monitors. On the 2i2, they are 1/4 inch, so you'll see that they're 1/4 inch outputs. On the Solo, they are RCA, and that is going to be another major difference between the Solo and the 2i2, is that this one outputs out of 1/4 inch jacks into your studio monitors. The Solo is going to be using RCA, and then those will be going into your studio monitors. The same type of connection audio-wise, but they're going to be physically 2 different types of connections, so just watch out for that. Another great thing about the Scarlett is the brushed aluminum build quality. I love the color and I love the way it looks, but I also love the way that it's built. I like the fact that it does not feel like it's going to break very easily. Now, the icing on the cake with the Scarlett interfaces is the VSTs that will come with, that you can use in your DAW. You're getting 2 sets of EQ, compressor, noise gates, and other things like that from both Scarlett and Red. Both are going to be from Focusrite, and you're also going to get some loops, and it also comes with Novation Base Station. I have no idea what I'm going to do with Novation Base Station without the controller, but it's a good addition nonetheless. As for the other software, such as the compressor and the EQ, I almost always use those plugins in Logic when I'm doing voiceovers like this, or when I'm doing bass covers, or any other kind of recording, so I'm probably always going to be using Focusrite's plugins now. Recently, I had to reset my computer, my Apple computer, and I lost everything. I could not recover from Time Machine. I do have access to all my files, but because of software issues, I had to start from scratch. And when I had to re-download all my plugins, it was fairly easy to go back onto Focusrite's website to download all the plugins that it came with, and it had all the serials and passcodes that I needed right there to copy and paste, and it was fairly painless. As far as the audio samples go, you could probably find very many samples of the Scarlett at work on the internet. For my channel, there is a cover that I recently did, Killer Tofu by The Beats. If you ever watched Doug on Nickelodeon, I used the Focusrite on that, so you can see you can hear the Focusrite in work. It works just like any other audio interface. It really sounds like any other audio interface. The key features is what I'm very happy with, and the build quality and the ease of use is what gets me. The fact that it worked out of the box was fantastic, because before I even bought this audio interface and before the UX2 that I had before this interface stopped working on me, I bought an interface from Tascam. I'm not going to say which one because they apologized, and I think that it was just a fluke, but that device did not work, and it was right up at the price range and build quality that this device was at. So I see that there's a lot of quality control coming from Focusrite that is important when it came to searching for a product like this. My only wish is that Focusrite would come out with an amp modeling suite like Pod Farm from Line 6, not something big like Bias from Positive Grid, but something that's smaller, or something that could have come with a smaller package like this. Musicians like me, we like to take our tones along with our hardware, so if I were to take this audio interface with me, I would like to plug into any other DAW and be able to get the same tone that I plug into any other time. So if you guys have any more questions about the Scarlett interfaces, ask below or ask on any of the things that you see on the screen. And thank you guys very much for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next video.